up on Network Africa. Al-Qaeda claims responsibility for 2 deadly attacks in Bamako, Mali this week. Kenyan President William Ruto says he fired the police boss over cases of forced disappearances and extrajudicial killings. Plus, M23 rebels announced their withdrawal from a captured military camp in Rumangabo. And everyone, and thanks for joining us in the program. I'm Amarachi Ubani. We begin with the latest out of Mali. We're learning about the twin attacks that happened earlier this week. Terror group Al-Qaeda has claimed responsibility for 2 attacks that killed at least 2 firefighters and 3 civilians near Bamako, the Malian capital. A statement by the group and authenticated by the U.S. NGO site, which specializes in tracking radical groups, the jihadists of the Al-Qaeda-affiliated group for the support of Islam and Muslims, claimed responsibility for 2 simultaneous attacks against a fire station and an environmental and forest protection unit located near the Malian capital, Bamako. The attacks targeted the towns of Makakungo and Kasela, both on the Bamako-Segu highway in southeastern Mali, an area where they're relatively rare. Al-Qaeda, however, did not give a toll for these attacks, but the Mali Ministry of Security and Civil Protection says the Makakungo attack killed 2 firemen and 3 civilians. Mali has been fighting the jihadist insurgency for a decade now. It's spread to neighboring Niger and to Burkina Faso. A junta currently in power since 2020 has brought in Russians, whom it represents as military instructors to help fight the jihadists. To Kenya now, as President William Ruto discloses the country's former director of criminal investigations, George Kinoti, was fired. Not that he resigned. Kinoti was fired by the president himself over cases of forced disappearances and extrajudicial killings. The president had previously said Kinoti resigned from office. President Ruto told journalists last night he was keen on ensuring there were no extrajudicial killings by the police, and that he had tasked the Police Oversight Authority to investigate the cases. He insisted the police must operate within the law, which he said included defending themselves from criminals. Staying with Kenya, the president says the country will not default on its debt in the face of severe economic challenges. Once again, speaking to journalists during his first major televised media conference, President Ruto said Kenya had applied the brakes on any more borrowing. When he took over in September last year, President Ruto's government had said it would cut expensive commercial borrowing in favor of cheaper sources such as the World Bank. Like several other African countries, Kenya's credit rating has been at risk of being downgraded because of rising debts and surging global interest rates. We're in the Democratic Republic of Congo now, where the rebel group M23 has announced its withdrawal from a strategic military base it captured in October last year in the Rumangabo area. The group said in a statement it would hand over the camp today to the East African Regional Force. It follows their announcement last month of plans to withdraw from captured territories as a goodwill gesture in line with the agreements of a regional leaders summit in the Angolan capital, Luanda, in November. Residents of the Rushuru region have been complaining of the group's slow withdrawal from at least 100 villages it captured since its offensive began in June last year. The handover of the Rumangabo military camp comes 12 days after the rebels withdrew from Kimbumba town. But let's check in on South Africa, where the Weather Service has issued an orange level 9 warning for heavy and destructive rainfall in parts of KwaZulu-Natal. Areas including eThekwini, Richmond, Msunduzi, and Ilembe are set to experience rainfall that could cause widespread flooding of roads, settlements, and bridges. The service also anticipates widespread displacement of communities and prolonged disruption of essential services like water and electricity. An orange level 5 warning for disruptive rainfall has been issued for the eastern parts of Mpumalanga and the eastern parts of the Eastern Cape, which will continue until tomorrow. Level 2 warnings have been issued for parts of Limpopo and the Free State, while Gauteng is set to experience scattered showers and thunder showers. Meanwhile, the electricity in the country has been affected, but energy giant Eskom says this is because of delays in the return to service of 7 generating units. Consequently, stage 4 blackouts will be implemented from 4 p.m. today until 5 in the morning tomorrow. Thereafter, stage 3 power cuts will be in place until Sunday morning. Well, we're back to Kenya now, where the president has been speaking about the country's debt financing and the severe economic challenges it's been going through. He says there will be no more borrowing for Kenya. Kenyan journalist Cyrus Ombati joins us now. He's in Nairobi. Cyrus, great to see you and a happy new year to you. Welcome to 2023.
How's Nigeria?
Oh, Nigeria is great. And how is Kenya?
We're fine, nothing much. Just starting the new year, we're happy.
Indeed. Now let's talk about, this seeming economic crisis that Kenya is currently going through. How are people reacting to this in practical terms?
Well, there's a lot of skepticism among the Kenyan masses at large because the president said last night that there will be no more borrowing, and yet when you look at the projections, you can't see that Kenya cannot do without borrowing. Actually, just 2 weeks ago, when IMF gave a loan to Kenya, almost $1 billion. So the president cannot be able to tell us how he can be able to finance his budget without borrowing.
Yeah, but how are people then reacting to this? I mean, people, living on a budget? Is that what they're doing? Is there anger towards the government about this? Or do they feel that the government could have handled this better?
Oh, well, there's a lot, as I've said in the beginning, there's a lot of skepticism from the public at large. Even social media, it's a lot of irony among people are just enjoying the president, throwing emoji here and there about borrowing. So people are not trusting his words that he cannot do his budget borrowing from maybe World Bank or IMF. He must borrow. There's no way he can be able to finance his budget without borrowing. Like either locally, you can borrow from the local banks or international firms like IMF and the World Bank. So there's no way he can do without that. Can I assure you that?
Is there an explanation as to where these monies are going to for Kenya?
I mean, much of the money is going towards for example, China gave so much money to Kenya in terms of project financing here and there. So those are some of the debts that Kenya has to pay back. There are so many development projects which are now stalled, which have to be financed. I mean, the current, then there's a financing of the bloated civil service, pay, the police, the military. So even locally, the budgets which are being raised cannot be able to address the demands that are in the country at large. Kenya does not produce, doesn't manufacture to be able to meet its economic demand.
And for Kenyans, what personal adjustments are they making to be able to cope with the current economic crisis?
I mean, we are staring at serious crisis because, in fact, from next week, there will be more taxes which are going to be imposed on, for example, IT items. When you look at things like Netflix, they have added more money taxes on Netflix when you are watching. If you go to Spotify, there's more. You're going to pay more if you are using Spotify. So you see, everything that now is coming in the coming days, taxes are going to increase. So the cost of living is going to be high. So people are staring at a dark future, you can say, for now.
Yeah, but how exactly are they adjusting to this dark future? They know what's coming, right, Cyrus? So what are they saying about, how they will adjust? Are people reducing the number of meals they have a day? Are they also saving more instead of spending more? You just mentioned Netflix and Spotify and how the taxes have gone up on that. Are people withdrawing, unsubscribing from these entertainment apps and so on?
I mean, you see, some of these apps, we find that people are getting used to them to be part of their life. It's part of the entertainment. That's how you break your kind of your weekend. That's how you spend your weekend. Maybe you're on Spotify or Netflix. There are people who are saying they're going to cut down some of the expenditures here and there. But then now you see the problem is these are things that you plan to do. Some of them they may come without your knowledge. I mean, like for example, the school fees are people are saying the cost of the school fees is going to increase. because of the taxes which are being introduced. E-booking, like e-books, you have to buy them online, you pay more. So you can't avoid such. So people have to adjust to be able to meet the demand.
I want to also want you to talk about another interesting matter, and that's the Office of the First Daughter. Never heard of it before.
Sure.
I think it only exists in Kenya. And that's a position that does not exist in government. I mean, Kenyans have also said it does not exist. Even the president acknowledges it does not exist. But how, again, does it exist?
Well, you see, this issue was brought up by one of the daughters of the president. She's called Charlene. Charlene is, it's just a university professor. She just cleared the university the other year. She's excited that his father is now the president. As the president said last night, yeah, she's excited that the father is called the president. Yeah, her mother is called first lady. So she imagines that there should be an office called the first daughter's office, which is not existing in law. But then Charlene is all over the country. She's visiting regions. She's making demands. She's making comments online, social media. So she's all over Kenya. That's what she has become now a topic of kind of discussion here and there. So yesterday, the president was asked about her. And the president said, leave my daughter out of this because she's just being a father's daughter. She's being a lady who cannot be able to distinguish between the presidency and the father. Just that. She's just an excited and overzealous girl to me.
Yeah, but does she have a job? I mean, she's 25 years old, well, about 25 years old. She also has a bachelor's degree in communication. She's been taking advantage of this office. She's been invited to events, invited to functions in the capacity of that office, the office of the first daughter. So who are the people giving her these audiences?
Well, you see, by virtue of her being the daughter of the president, if, for example, she comes to your office, you can't run her from her. You record her the audience she wants. So she takes advantage of her being the daughter of the president to, in quotes, harass people. I mean, she goes all over. She goes to the regions. She meets the region of our president. Using her father's name or the title. So, it's either designed to propel her to power, as some are putting it. It's a design, when you look at the matrix which are being counted here and there, she's in line to kind of succeed when he uses power. Those are the possibilities.
So why isn't anyone calling the president out on the nepotism taking place? I mean, is she being paid for this office? If she's moving from region to region, it means that she's doing some sort of work, for her father, right? So why is no one calling him out on the nepotism in his government?
That one is another issue now. As we are raising, everyone is asking who's funding her. And she can say she's using her own money, but then we know she doesn't have a kind of an employment that she can rely on. We can assume that she's using her father's money or her mother's money or state resources, because whenever she moves, she has a delegation of around 3 or 4 cars and around 10 people following her, including policemen who are guarding her, including her handlers. So it's an issue which may want to raise, but then that kind of fear. We've not had a strong kind of voice to talk about her. I mean, whenever you try to raise such a thing, people say, leave my family. You see, like yesterday, the president said, leave my daughter out of this. You see, when he says like that, now he puts...
A pretty interesting situation you have in Kenya. Cyrus, thank you so much. We know you were on your way to cover an assignment. We wish you the best of the rest of your day.
Okay. Thank you. Actually, I was stopped by the road to talk to you. Thank you so much.
I understand. Thank you. We have more stories on Network Africa Plus. Electricity in crisis in Zambia. President Hakainde Hichilema disappointed with the 12-hour power blackouts in the country. I'll give you details after the break. Stay with us. A UN peacekeeping mission in Abyei in South Sudan responded rapidly to quell violence in the village of Rumama in the southern part of Abyei. After an attack that resulted in 13 people being killed. And that report was given by the UN spokesperson, Stefan Dujarric, who was speaking to reporters in New York. According to Dujarric, the mission has launched an investigation into the incident.
DRC is telling us that its Force Intervention Brigade has launched a joint operation with the Congolese army. The operation aims to bolster ongoing efforts to protect civilians and to neutralize armed groups in the areas along the Beni, Simulike, Kamango, Nobil axis in North Kivu. The UN peacekeepers are also undertaking patrols along that axis to improve security, to allow freedom of movement of the population and security forces, and to help with the return of internally displaced people. The Central African Republic, UN peacekeepers there have also concluded a joint mission with the Central African Security Forces to better protect people in the country's west. Over a period of 1 month, peacekeepers conducted over 100 patrols and 30 aerial surveillance missions. They patrol several localities, including Bosangoa, Nanabakasa, Markunda, and Pawa. Military peacekeepers, also accompanied by civilian colleagues, provided medical services, distributed school equipment, and shared information about the threats of improvised explosive devices. Our peacekeeping mission in Abyei, otherwise known as UNISFA, has responded rapidly to quell violence in the village of Rumamer in the southern part of Abyei after an early morning attack that took place today. It resulted in 13 people being killed, 5 injured, and 27 homes being burned to the ground.
Power cuts are nothing new in many parts of Africa, but for the Zambian president, is nothing but sheer disappointment for the 12-hour power blackouts the country is experiencing. That's according to his spokesperson, Anthony Bwala. Zambia's power utility, ZESCO Limited, announced crippling 12-hour electricity blackouts yesterday until further notice, owing to low water levels in the Kariba Dam, which is used for hydropower. The company said the removal of a 150 megawatt generator at Mamba Colliery's power plant for routine annual maintenance from January 4 to the 20th had exacerbated the situation. Bwala blamed the problem on insufficient investment in the energy sector by previous governments, saying there was need to diversify investments to other sources of energy. He added that the president, who had previously said his government had ended power cuts, was up to the task in addressing the situation, but needed more time. Zambians on social media, however, have been less forgiving, reminding Mr. Hichilema about his past claims and his promises. Well, here in Nigeria, the Lagos State government has launched the Eco Social Health Alliance package to accommodate more vulnerable persons in the state. The Director for Medical Administration, Training and Programs in the State Ministry of Health, Dr. Fumilayo Shokumbi, explains that 230,000 residents are currently benefiting from the free health insurance initiative.
The Lagos State government continues to work towards the Sustainable Development Goals, especially universal health coverage. The Eco-Social Health Alliance is the latest healthcare plan launched by the Lagos State Health Management Agency, which prioritizes vulnerable residents in Lagos to get access to healthcare insurance.
Gentlemen of the press,
State and private health officials converge on GRA Ikeja for the ceremony. According to the Lagos State government, since the commencement of access to care for vulnerable residents on the Ilera Eco Social Healthcare Plan in 2020, a total of 750 million naira has been disbursed as equity fund, in addition to the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund.
a total of 750 million has been disbursed as equity fund, in addition to the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund. Currently, over 230,000 residents who fall under this group enjoy free health care on the scheme at no cost.
The Health Management Agency says it's committed to ensuring that equal opportunity is given to those who cannot afford to pay the Ilera Eco premium package.
Let me state here that it is the collective responsibility of every one of us to ensure that the vulnerable also enjoy the dividends of democracy and access care without having to run helter-skelter for soliciting funds to pay their medical bills out of pocket.
This platform serves as one of the accountability measures where everyone can see in real time how resources are utilized, as well as the vulnerable coverage. Has been designed to raise additional funds for the healthcare of the vulnerable and indigents in the state. As part of the accountability and transparency measures, a newsletter will be issued out quarterly on the progress of ECOSHA.
No fewer than 230,000 indigent and vulnerable residents of Lagos State, including the elderly, people living with HIV and AIDS, as well as victims of domestic and sexual violence spread across all local government areas, are currently benefiting from free health insurance coverage sponsored by the Lagos State government through the Eco-Social Health Alliance.
This is where we end the program today. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi. Bye.